welcome KP Law News. Yes, a lawsuit is in the works for the man that was accidentally shot by JSO officer, Jacksonville Sheriff's Office here in Florida, with his own weapon. News conference that happened last week sometime. We're going to cover it, show you what's going on, let you know what's going on with this lawsuit. I covered this video a couple videos ago about this incident and covered a little bit on my live stream last night. But I got the news conference right here, press conference with the man's lawyer and what all ensued. So here we go.
Heard on December 13th here in Jacksonville, and Mr. Arrington is going to describe exactly what happened. He has not spoken to media before today, and I think that it is important for the citizens of this community to understand specifically what it is that happened on the side of that road, because Mr. Arrington is just like any of us, was driving his car, lawfully carrying his firearm, and voluntarily disclosed that to officers prior to him being shot by his own gun as a result of the officer's negligence. But Mr. Arrington will explain further.
Well, February 13th.
Come closer.
Directly behind the mic.
Yep. There you go. You don't have to lean down.
Gotcha.
You don't have to lean down.
February 13th, it was around about 4:50 in the evening. I had just gotten off of work. I was heading, I believe, towards downtown 27th and Main, where I kind of went through a traffic light.
December
That was
13th.
actually yellow, but it turned red pretty quick. Officer pulled me over. He asked me, do you know why he stopped me? I told him that light back there. I said, but you saw what happened. But he said, I didn't attempt to try to stop. But I told him if I tried to stop, I would have either slid through traffic light or he would have rear-ended me because he was behind me. He proceeded to ask, do I have any, do I have my driver license insurance on me? I said, yeah. He asked, do I have any guns or weapons? I told him I have a firearm. He asked me, where is it? I said, it's on me personally. He said, okay. He said, well, what I'm going to do is have you step out, have my partners, remove the gun, and we'll proceed forward. I said, okay, no problem. Stepped out. One officer, guy told me to put my hands on top of the truck, which I did. He started frisking me, and as he went down, I guess he had the lady to remove, the other fellow officer to remove the gun from me. She tugged on the gun the first time, then she tugged again, and that's when I told her, hey, just let me unloosen my belt because it's tight. And I guess, I don't know, she might have got nervous or whatever, but she pulled harder 2 more times, and that's when the gun, it discharged, and it shot me about up the hip and came out my inner on my right side.
Dang.
So it pretty much, it damaged me pretty good. It messed with me, as far as me working and stuff, certain things in my job I can't do no more, perform, like getting up on equipment and stuff, different things. I had to get on top of trains and unload stuff, forklift, crane, whatever, I have to do at my job. It's kind of hard for me to do it. I can do it, but it's challenging, like real bad.
Was that officer who was the one who actually pulled the gun, was she in the car with the original officer, or did she come as a backup?
I think she came as backup because the guy that initially stopped me, he was by himself. And then when I looked out my driver's side, it was 2 more officers there, which I didn't see come up. It was kind of, everything went fast.
Just to clarify, an officer first asked you if you had a firearm, and
Correct.
that's when you disclosed it.
Correct. Yeah, he asked me, and I told him, yes, I do. And he asked me, where was it? I said it was on me.
So are you guys pursuing legal action against the sheriff's office at this point? Can we expect a lawsuit or anything?
Yes, we are pursuing legal action. Mr. Arrington's civil rights were violated on December 13th, and we will pursue a civil rights lawsuit as a result of that. He suffered physical harm. We believe that he may have lost wages going forward and a lost capacity to work and earn. He is a crane operator, and there are specific elements of damages, including economic damages, medical bills, that sort of thing, in addition to emotional distress damages. And Mr. Arrington has started seeing a mental health professional as a result of that.
I wanted to ask, since this incident has happened, JSO has updated its policy surrounding concealed carry laws and what they do in instances like this. Do you think, I don't know if you guys have looked at the updated policy, but do you think with that, with this new policy, it could be, something like this could be prevented, or do you think there needs to be more done?
Well, we certainly hope that and are grateful, right, that JSO finds it important enough to update policies and continue to evolve and be a more progressive agency. However, this particular officer who caused injury to Mr. Arrington,
should not be an
we don't
officer.
believe was properly trained, certainly did not follow protocol. Mr. Arrington, we believe the body cam video will bear this out. Unfortunately, neither Mr. Arrington nor I have been able to obtain the body cam despite our requests.
Wow.
I believe the media has also requested it, and we're all getting the same 6 to 8 month reply.
6 to 8 months.
Mr. Arrington had violated a traffic law, certainly was not a wanted criminal, and there is no reason for the body cam not to be released both to the victim of this situation and his counsel and to the general public. So we are asking JSO, the city of Jacksonville, to release the body cam footage because we believe that it would in fact support what Mr. Arrington has described to you today. It would show the citizenry that the officer's actions were in fact unreasonable, and it's appropriate here. We want our law enforcement
Unreasonable is
agencies to be transparent,
understatement.
and that has to be something that occurs here as well.
Yes. Transparency, JSO.
Is that, have you filed it already, or do you know when that will actually be filed, just for storytelling purposes?
Sure, no, we haven't. I mean, to answer your question, no, we haven't filed a lawsuit yet, but you guys will be made aware. Yep.
Mr.
All
Arrington,
right.
I just want to ask, what went through your head the moment that it discharged? I mean, obviously you felt it, but what was can you talk me through that moment?
I mean, when my hand's on top of the truck, so when the gun went off, I kept my hand on top of the truck because I didn't want no one else thinking that it was me.
Yeah.
And for the moment
You
when
could
it
have
hit,
shot him
it was
dead.
like, it was a movement of my body, but I actually didn't thought it was me that the bullet hit. I thought it was the officer behind me because he was down checking me. And then when I realized I looked down, he stood up and said, "Hey man, you been shot?" And I'm just like, I'm looking down like, "Oh, I have been shot." And it was just like, that's when he hit me like, "Man, I've been shot." So that's when he put my hand around his neck and kind of put me to the ground, and went. And that's when he ran back to get the tourniquet to wrap my leg up because I was losing a lot of blood quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that panic sensation set in.
Yeah. I mean, I was okay, I thought, but my body was hemorrhaging bad. So that's when they kind of like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? They thought they hit a main artery, but I did too because it was getting pretty gray outside. So, yeah.
Wow. And can we just talk about your recovery? I know you mentioned it's impacted your ability to work, but have you been going to like physical therapy?
Yeah, that's
as
what
well?
they set me up with, physical therapy at Brooks Hospital. I've been all right, you know what I'm saying? Just every now and then I get muscle spasms really bad, and I'll limp like this leg will like fall dead for a quick second, but I kind of gain it back. But
That's
that's
something you thought you'd have to be dealing
Oh,
with
no.
during your Christmas.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's rough because if I sit down for a second or two, my leg tighten up real bad. But so I try to stay moving on it. But
Wow.
it get pretty throughout the day. It hurts.
How did your loved ones react to the news when you told them? I mean,
I tried to tell them calmly as I did, and it's like they were shocked. Like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah." And everybody else was kind of shocked, about it. I guess they didn't think that it was me when they saw the cameras rolling. They didn't think that was me on the ground. It was like, "Man, I saw your truck. We know your truck, but that was actually you on the ground." I'm like, "Yeah, that was me."
Yeah, that was me.
Reaction, if you remember, of the other officers after this happened, namely the one
That did it.
seemingly.
She seemed. They say she was in shock, but it was as I was looking at her, because I kept looking, it was just a nonchalant look, like I didn't do nothing wrong. And I'm just like, "Oh, okay." It was just I mean, they say she was nervous and shocked, but it was just. I
No,
don't
she
know. I
was
saw it
shocked.
differently,
I
it was
agree
me
with
being
him.
shocked, looking at you like, because when she shot me, the other officer and sergeant, whoever was there, they apologized 100 times. She never said one word to me. Not one word.
Wow.
She stared at me though, but didn't say anything. So I was just like, okay. I just left it at that. I didn't say anything else. I was worried about me, but yeah.
What kind of gun was it?
Wow.
That I had was a Gen 5 Glock 45.
And for the purposes of educating the audience, could you walk through what parts of this stop you're citing as the civil rights violation, if that makes sense?
So Mr. Arrington is not disputing the validity of the stop, the traffic violation. We believe that his civil rights were violated thereafter. But
Yep.
people in Florida can carry firearms lawfully now without a permit.
Concealed
but-
carry.
there was no gun owners in this state should be able to carry their firearms, should be able to have them on their person, in their vehicles, without the fear of an officer pulling them over on the side of the road, them voluntarily disclosing that they're carrying a firearm, and then being shot with their own weapon. So,
That's messed up.
Mr. Arrington's civil
Definitely.
rights were violated. We will
Yes.
pursue that action. I also want Mr. Arrington to talk about his holster and how it was situated and the motions of the officer tugging at it. Also describe the pants that you were wearing, and you mentioned, loosening your belt. So I just want you to go through a little bit of that.
So at the moment of when she got to remove the firearm on me, I had like some joggers on, which have like a string pull in the front, and I have it fairly tight because I have my gun in my holster, and I don't want anything to come off, even though there's a clip on, but things happen. So I had it really, I had it tight. So when she went for the gun, when she first pulled, she literally pulled so hard, she pulled my whole shorts up, my pants up, and she did it a second time, and that's when I said it loud enough for her to hear me, say, hey, let me unloosen my, my belt so nothing, so you can get it out. And she just tugged even harder, like 2 more times, and that's when the gun went off. And it was just like,
The holster the firearm has been returned to Mr. Arrington by JSO. The holster has not been returned.
Was the safety on?
their safety is on the trigger.
And just to be clear, there's no issue with the medical response that JSO made after the shooting. That's not something that you're pursuing in the lawsuit.
We will obviously examine the body cam footage once it is made available, but based on the officer providing a tourniquet and calling for assistance, we believe that the medical response was appropriate. The issue is this female officer who, for whatever reason, chose to continue to tug at Mr. Arrington's waistband and caused his firearm to go off. We don't believe that the gun malfunctioned, and anyone who's ever operated a firearm, and certainly a trained officer, is aware that if you put your finger inside the trigger guard, there is an extremely significant risk of the gun going off. So that her finger was anywhere near the trigger at that moment is very troubling and should be of concern to the general public.
Yes, very much.
We also don't know this officer's status or the status of this investigation period. We don't know if she's on the job, if she's on patrol. She's not been identified to us. So we just have concerns. I've sent an email. I've asked for information. I've asked for an opportunity for Mr. Arrington and I to come down to JSO to view the body cam footage if they were not prepared to release it to me directly. And I got no response to that email. So what I got is a call from a risk manager, a risk management specialist with the city of Jacksonville. So we have concerns about the transparency around this incident, and we appreciate Sheriff Waters in his transparency in other incidents, but here there seems to be some inconsistency, and we'd like that addressed.
And we talked about this a little before we started, but I know that you have the court date set up for the citation, right? Are you still intending at this point to go to that? But I know that we don't know if the citation's been dropped. Can you just kind of speak to that a little?
Well, according to the Clerk of Court's website, Mr. Arrington's traffic citation has been dismissed by agency.
Dismissed.
As of December 20th. So he was pulled over on December 13th. 1 week later, this citation seems to have been fully dismissed. I've requested that specific document. It's shielded from even attorney view. So I've requested that, and we hope to get that document so that we can learn a little bit more about what, if any, explanation was provided for the dismissal of the traffic citation. Mr. Arrington was prepared to deal with that citation appropriately. He doesn't challenge that he did, in fact, run the red light, but we appreciate the dismissal considering the circumstances, but we would like the rationale for that.
And Mr. Arrington, I just want your thoughts on the fact that the sheriff did send out this memo to all of his patrol officers, letting them know the step-by-step guidelines for handling somebody who has a gun on them, and it's basically saying that the
Who's doing the camera work?
Duty to be able to prove that they don't have the right to have that gun, rather than the other way around. So they shouldn't be removing that gun unless there is a concern for public safety. So just want to know your thoughts on. I mean, that's an agency-wide distribution that he sent out. prompting that?
You said repeat that again. You said what ending part? Say it.
Yeah, so he sent out a memo to all of the patrol officers, letting them know kind of how to handle if somebody does have a gun on them during a traffic stop, and explaining that it's not
It's a little
the
late
person's
for that.
responsibility to prove that they have the right to have that gun. It's the officer's right to prove that they don't have the right to have that gun. So they shouldn't be removing it unless there's a concern for public safety in that moment, which in your case there wasn't, right?
Yeah, because I cooperated. I didn't pose no threat or anything, you know, and that's what I've been stopped before, and they've asked me that. And the only thing they asked me to do is just keep my hand on the steering wheel, and that's it. You know, I've never had no one actually like take it from me. I have had it asked, but not nothing recently. I mean, a little bit before the law changed, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, I read the memo and stuff. You know, I mean, I just think that I don't think that my gun should have been removed because, like I said, I didn't pose any threat. I did everything he asked me to do, everything.
What was racial makeup of the officers that were around you at that particular point in time?
What was what now?
Racial makeup. Was it a diverse crowd of officers around you? Or
At the moment, no. It was just, you know, they were all the officers that was around me. They all of them, they all was white. Yeah.
How many total officers?
At the time of the stop, before everything transpired, was 3. It was just 3, and then after that was a lot.
A lot.
With this lawsuit, what is best case scenario that comes out of this for both of you?
Well, certainly we whenever we file a lawsuit, we are looking to make our client whole to the extent that can happen. We are looking to effect change. Here in this situation, we appreciate the memo, right? We appreciate what seems like perhaps a policy change, but there should be additional training, right? There should be additional evaluation, bias training, all of these things that law enforcement agencies have talked about, given a lot of lip service to, and it just begs the question when we continue to see officer-involved shootings and these traffic stops that go awry. It begs the question about the continued bias that exists. We all have bias, right? But in these particular situations, what level of training has been provided to the officers in order to minimize some of that? Like you said, it's not the citizen's responsibility to prove that I can lawfully carry this gun. That's well established. So why is it that this officer in particular, felt that it was appropriate for her to remove the firearm in such a forcible way that it ultimately caused Mr. Arrington to be shot, causing him further damage? That's really the issue, right? So yes, attorneys file lawsuits. We, of course, seek money damages, but it's also about accountability, transparency, policy changes, because the next person that gets pulled over should not experience what Mr. Arrington experienced. And anybody that carries a gun.
They'll talk about transparency and accountability. Well, no, with the new law that just passed went in effect today about the 25-foot rule of recording the cops, that kind of takes away from transparency and accountability. Here we go.
Anybody that has a firearm in their car would be susceptible to this happening based on what happened to Mr. Arrington. Mr. Arrington, anything else you want to say?
Anything really bad you want to add?
I just hope they do a lot better. You know, we don't run into this again. You know, I just kind of messed me
Do
up
better.
a little bit, though. Just I look at them a lot different. Like I never had
As
problems with
DMA
JSO,
says,
you know,
do
just kinda,
better.
But if that situation was just like in my mind now, if they was to ever stop me again, I would literally just take my gun off of me before they get to me and just put it to the side, you know, because I don't want that to happen.
Has this established a fear that wasn't there before?
Oh yeah, definitely, especially when it comes to that. You know, it's like I'm not gonna even lie to you. I changed my whole firearm. I made sure I have one with the actual safety on it. You know, because of that. You know what I mean? I mean, they carry the same gun I carry though, so I would think that they would know how to use it. I mean,
You'd think,
what
but not very possible.
any advice for other gun owners facing a similar situation going, you know, they're pulled, if any other gun owners pulled over and they have a gun on them, what would you say to them?
Right about now, just if you can get it off before they get to you, just take it off. If you say put on the seat, put your hand on the steering wheel or in the air, let them know that it's there versus them going for it, because that situation could have turned out way worse. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause
Yes.
I thought about when the gun went off, there was other officer that was there. They could have drew at me thinking that it was me shooting, because like I said, the other officer was on
Right.
the other side of the truck coming around when it happened. So it could have went wrong really quick, really fast. You know what I'm saying? I mean, any wrong move, because like I said, even when I was shot, I still kept
Definitely.
my hand on the truck. You know what I mean? So it was pretty wicked out there.
Yeah, after the gun went off, did they pull their guns on you?
No, but it was hesitant. It was looking like he got shot. Like, that's what feared me the most, because I was just like, that's why I never let the top of the truck go. I just stayed there because I'm like, nah. Then luckily someone that was on the light already that drove up, she was recording it. So I don't know who it was. But she recorded from the time they got me out, because I looked back at her and she was recording. Then when the gun went off, you hear her yelling. You guys shot the man. It just went down from there. And
Who was it?
I guess
Who was
like
there
I said,
recording?
when the gun went off, I didn't realize I was hit at the moment.
Come
But the officer
forward.
said, yeah, you've been shot, and that's when I'm like, and it's just blood going everywhere. So yeah.
Based on this, would you recommend to someone else to disclose to police that they have a firearm?
Yeah, I would tell him. I mean, I would still tell him. I mean, like I said, if he would have not asked me, no, I wouldn't have said anything, because I didn't commit a crime. It was a traffic stop, initially. But when he asked me, I said it quickly. Oh yeah, I'm not finna lie to you, because if I'd have told him a lie, he still would have took me out the car and found it. Now that's just like I'm hiding something that could have got worse from there. So yeah, I didn't. I tell him every time they stop me. Yes.
Don't answer
you ask me, yes,
questions. It's legal to
And
carry, and don't answer
we
questions.
appreciate the woman who was recording at the traffic
Here we
stop,
go.
and
Yeah.
we would like for her to come forward and reach out to my office so that we can obtain the footage and speak to her about what it is that she saw.
Mm-hmm.
We're not sure if JSO interviewed her or not, so considering that we don't have any documents or information regarding their investigation at this point.
Dang.
You guys have any other questions?
That's it, I believe. So there you have it. I got the news story from the memo that came out before this news conference, a week or so after the event took place. See if I can find it here. Let's see. This is it. News Jacks 4, I think. So let's watch it and let's go. Come on.
During a traffic stop, it happened nearly 2 weeks ago on Main Street. News4Jax has obtained a copy of this memo, which was emailed to patrol officers last week. The memo details what officers should consider when detaining someone who's carrying a concealed firearm. News4Jax reporter Eric Avanier explains.
News4Jax has learned that this memo was emailed to patrol officers the day after we aired this story about what you should and should not do if you're legally allowed to carry a concealed firearm and get pulled over in a
Tell me
traffic
watch
stop.
it, dude.
The
It's
story was a
legal. It's
follow-up to
legal.
a story we aired about a man who was accidentally shot in the leg with his own gun during a traffic stop. Listen to what was said during a news conference to describe how the driver was injured.
They were cooperative. No struggle at all. Told the officer I do have a firearm, and the officer chose to separate that individual from the firearm during the traffic stop. The firearm was in a holster, but it was inside the waistband. It was not an exterior holster. And the officer was attempting to remove the firearm, not sure how the gun was discharged, but as she was removing the holster from inside the waistband, the firearm discharged.
The memo that was sent to patrol officers following that accidental gun discharge outlines what they should and should not do when detaining someone who is legally carrying a concealed gun, especially now that a new state gun law that took effect last year allows legal gun owners to carry a concealed gun without a permit. The memo states that a person carrying a concealed firearm does not mean that person poses a threat or is ineligible to carry a concealed gun. It goes on to say that officers should not seize a detained person's gun or remove it from a holster or vehicle without articulable suspicion that the person presents a threat to the safety of others, including the officer.
There you
The memo
go.
defines posing a threat as the detained person matching the suspect description of a crime, the detained person leaving a known drug house while armed, or a detained person being verbally aggressive toward the officer.
And we have a right in Florida to be armed.
Eric Friday is a civil rights attorney who
There he is,
specializes in
Eric,
cases involving
Mr.
gun laws and
Friday.
gun rights. Although he is not affiliated with this case, he says given the fact that police have already said the man who was accidentally shot was cooperative with the patrol officer during that traffic stop,
The officer is going to have to justify her legal basis for conducting that seizure. And I don't think she has one.
The memo really clarifies to the officers.
She
News for
don't.
Jack's crime and safety analyst Tom Hackney is a retired JSO director
There
of
we go.
investigations. He says
Cops
the new Florida
swinging.
law that allows eligible citizens to carry concealed guns without a permit and without having to tell an officer they are armed now means
Officers encounter a lot more people with guns, and the burden is there about determining who is legally able to carry guns and who isn't, but still walking that line of protecting people's civil rights to carry those firearms.
This memo also goes on to explain when a person should be detained, how long they should be detained, and when it's feasible to frisk someone. Eric Avignon, Channel 4, the local station.
The local station. Yeah. So that's it. That's what's happening here in beautiful downtown Jacksonville, Florida. JSO getting sued. Wow, that's crazy. I mean, he even said, stop, let me loosen my belt or whatever. So you get it out easier. No, she just tugged at it that much harder and ended up shooting the poor man in his leg. You see him standing there and on his cane at the news conference. Man, that's crazy. What is wrong with people? That's right. You can conceal carry in Florida without a permit, but still no open carry whatsoever. But that's it. So let me know down in the comment section what y'all think about this. Check out my live stream I did last night. The replay of the new Florida law. What's the name of it? SB 184. About protection of first responders from harassment and stalking and all that other stuff. It's crazy. 25 feet. 25 feet. And if they tell you to back up and you don't back up, guess what? You're going to jail. I think that lawyer there with that dude that got shot needs to challenge that law if it's not already being challenged. So check out that video if you don't mind. I appreciate it. So let me know in the comment section what you think about this situation. I appreciate everybody watching. KP Law News out.